As so often occurs in history, the smallest incidents spark the largest events. So too with the Jewish revolt. This simple breach of the daily sacrifice propels a people into a savage war, one that will change two of the world's greatest faiths for all time. Curiously, it is a war that the Romans might well have averted had they governed Palestine with more care.
I think some wise and judicious Roman interventions might have gone a long way to keep the lid on that. But the Roman administration, particularly in the decade, maybe even 2 decades prior to the revolt, was a part of the problem, not part of the solution.
For more than 70 years, resentment and resistance have been building. But even now, war is a desperate act.
History has shown that people are not in a rush to revolt. They wait a long time. I think that the revolt happened at all suggests to us how dire the situation had become.
No sooner does the revolt begin, however, than lethal divisions erupt among the Jews. Initially, temple priests assume control. But a Galilean named Menahem has his own designs on the leadership. He is a third-generation rebel and the head of a fearsome group of terrorists called the Sicarii. The name means short dagger, the weapon of choice for their bold daylight assassinations of Roman collaborators.
In the midst of the city, chiefly during festivals, they mingled among the multitude and concealed daggers under their garments with which they stabbed their enemies. Josephus, The Jewish War, Book 2, Chapter 13.
Sicarii made a point of blending in with the crowds, picking out their enemy, surrounding him, stabbing him, and then melting away again into the crowds and disappearing. This is easy to do at festival time when the city is teeming with crowds and teeming with visitors.
They also demonstrate military shrewdness. In a brilliant tactical maneuver, Menahem surprises and overwhelms a Roman garrison at an almost indomitable fortress called Masada. There, he seizes the stockpile of weaponry. Instantly, the Sicarii become the one Jewish force with instruments of war.
It'd be the best armed because the Romans had a monopoly on military. There was no Jewish military. There were no armaments in the country. They wouldn't have shields. They wouldn't have spears, the same way that the Roman soldiers would have. But on Masada, they could get a hold of such equipment.
Menahem then marches into Jerusalem and leverages his military might to wrest control of the revolt from Eleazar and the temple priests. They are furious that a common outsider has usurped them.
The priests who support Eleazar ben Ananias cannot brook the rule of such a man as Menahem, who from their perspective was low-born, low-bred, and consequently not to be taken seriously, and Menahem in due course meets his end.
When Menahem proves to be a tyrant, Eleazar leads a party against him, attacking at the temple itself. They capture the Sicarii leader and dispatch him with pronounced brutality.
They tortured him with many sorts of torments, and after all, slew him, as they also did those who were captains under him. Josephus, The Jewish War, Book 2, Chapter 17.
The remaining Sicarii flee the city for the Masada fortress. There, they mysteriously wait out the entire revolt,